I just picked these two snowblowers up for $100. Let's see if we can get them started.
I'm going to start with this Craftsman one. It looks to be in good condition. There's no rust. However, it's locked up. Now, it's been sitting outside for a while, so I'd kind of assume it would be stuck. And when I went to pull it at first, it spun a little bit, and then it got locked. So we're going to start by seeing if we can unstick this thing. I'm going to take off this chute so I can spin it over on the crankshaft. Alright, now that that's off, I have a lot better access to the crankshaft. Alright, so look at this. I just put this on the crankshaft, gave it a twist, freed right up. I'm going to keep spinning it to make sure we don't hit another rough spot. That's great. I was really worried about that. I was spinning it for a while, didn't get stuck anymore, so I think the only thing to do now is just to throw some starter fluid in there and see what will happen. I got to get access to the carburetor, which is right there, so I'm going to take this cover off. Got the cover off. I took that cover off, but I also want to take off the muffler because I want to check that spark plug, and it looks like it's right under there. Definitely want to clean out in there. I'm going to check if we're getting spark to the plug first. All right, let's see what happens. There we go. Saw some light. I want to pull that plug out now. Just pulled the plug out. Doesn't look great. It's got some good rust on it, and there is zero gap on this thing. I could re-gap it, or I can see if I have a new one. So I'm going to go check and see if I have a better one to replace it with. First one I found out of the parts box. It's a perfect match. Let's see if it works. Just check the spark plug. Looks fine. Fits right in there. Now I'm going to see if I can spray some starter fluid in the carburetor. I sprayed some starter fluid in there, and I gave it a few pulls. Nothing happened. Didn't want to fire. But I noticed this throttle right here isn't doing anything down there. It's moving up here, but not down there. And it seems to be doing something under this tank here, so I'm going to take the tank off and take a look under there. So I'm going to take the gas can off and take a look at what's up with these linkages here. I got the tank off, and it's really clean in there, which is a good sign. Now I need to find out why this throttle isn't doing anything. So when you push the throttle, this is supposed to move this, which opens the butterfly valve inside the carb. This arm right here moves and stuff. However, when you do move the throttle, nothing over there happens. And that's because this spring right here just isn't doing anything. You push it, and this over here is supposed to get pushed so that this arm right here moves. And you put it back, it goes into place. But if you want to slow the engine down, it doesn't move it back. So this thing was always on high throttle, which could be why it didn't start. If you watch the spring right there, when I push this down, it just slides up that groove. It's getting pushed at a bad angle. So I think if I put it in this hole, this thing will push it correctly. I'll be honest, I really do not know what I'm talking about, but it seems right to me, so let's try it. Well, I know it's a shocker, but that did nothing. So my next idea is to make this spring a little longer so that when I push it and it slides to the back of this thing right there, it hits it and then pushes that. So let's see if that works. So I just got some wisdom from my dad. He told me not to mess with this spring and to just spray some through the spark plug. So I sprayed some in there, and let's see if it fires off of that. There we go. It did something. So this spring is actually the governor spring, which means that the engine has to be running for this to really do what it's supposed to. So when you move this switch here, the governor will set the speed of the engine, so it needs to be spinning because there's weights down there which will set that speed. So if I get this carburetor cleaned up, hopefully it'll fire up and this should work fine. I just took this cover off, and this thing is disgusting in there, so this carb is definitely going to need to be cleaned. That also makes sense why it wouldn't run when I was spraying it down in there. Having a hard time getting this whole cover off. Everything just wants to come off with it. It's hitting these handles here, so I think I'm gonna have to take those off to pull it all off. I'm gonna just take one bolt out of each side so I can just rotate it down. That worked pretty good. Now I got a lot more room to work on this thing. Just gotta keep taking stuff off. This cover's free now. Now that this is out, the carb is coming out next. Carburetor's out, and this thing is pretty dirty, but I think it's fixable. You can see it's full of old fuel, which isn't great. I got the bowl off, and this thing is extremely dirty. You can see it is completely clogged in there. There's a ton of debris in the bottom of the bowl. I gotta start cleaning this thing up now. Got this thing cleaned up pretty good. All the holes, you can see through them and liquid flows through them. So I think it's time to put it back together and see what it'll do. This gasket is old and crumbly, and clearly it broke, and I barely touched it. But luckily I have a new one sitting right here, so I'm gonna throw that on. I also have one for this side, so I'm gonna put that one on too. Carbon gaskets are on. Time to put this cover back on. First I gotta clean out all this gunk. Everything's back on. It seems to be doing what it's supposed to. I'm gonna put the fuel tank back on and see if it'll start up. Fuel tank's back on. I'm gonna put some gas in it and see if it'll run.
Let's see what happens. Oh, it started. I heard it start. Well, I think I'm gonna call it for tonight. It only wanted to run with a little bit of choke, so I'll mess with that in the morning. All right, it's the next day. I'm gonna take the carb back off and clean it because it would only run well with the choke slightly on. So that usually means it's still a little dirty. So I'm gonna do that right now. I did it properly this time. I took this jet out. You can see right through it. Took this thing out. You can see right through that too. So I'm gonna put this all back together and hopefully she runs smooth. Everything's back on. Gas tank's on. I also put the muffler on. So let's go test it out. So it runs good now, but there's still something going on with that governor arm. So I'm gonna take this tank off and take a look at it and make sure everything's moving freely under there. So I ordered a new spring and it runs great now. Moral of the story is don't mess with the spring. Now before I put everything back together and get this thing up for sale, the drive cable is broken, but I have an idea on how I can fix it. I'm gonna try and use this cable off of this junk garden tiller. Alright, so what I ended up doing was cutting the cable end off of this piece, and then I threaded it through the original housing for this cable so that it'll fit right onto this blower and hopefully it'll drive. Alright, so this cable is all hooked up down here, except this end has to go into this arm right here, and I have this bolt and washer and nut to clamp it on there, so I'm going to put that on right now. I got that cable through this arm here, and now when I squeeze the drive, it pulls that arm, and it engages the wheels. I'm going to put most of this stuff back together and then go test it. Everything's back on. Time to test it out. All right, let's see how it does. This thing drives, and blows great. Let's clean it up and put it up for sale. This thing cleaned up nice. Time to work on the orange one. First thing I'm gonna do is drain whatever is in the gas tank right now. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of water in there because I was sitting outside without a gas cap and he gave me one from a different blower to use. So I'm gonna drain that out first. I see it's got a fuel shut off, which is pretty nice, so I'm gonna drain it from there. This is just straight water coming out. It's not good at all. While that drains, let's see if we got spark. All right, well that's a good sign. Pulled the plug. This one looks a lot better than that other one. So let's see if this thing works. Plug works good. So I'm gonna do what I did last time and spray some stuff down in the spark plug hole and see what happens. All right, let's see what it does.
There we go. So I think if I just give it a carb clean and definitely not touch the spring, should be okay. Gas tank's off and there's still more water in there, so I'm gonna have to go drain that. Also gonna need to get all that water out of this fuel line and the carburetor. I'm taking the muffler off. I just got this cover off. Way easier to get this cover off and get access to the carburetor on this one than the other machine. I'm still gonna take the muffler off. It'll give me more access to the carburetor here, not touching these springs. Muffler's off. Time to take this carburetor off. Carburetor's off. Time to clean it up. I got the bowl off and it is pretty clean in there, but it could still use a good cleaning, so I'm gonna do that right now. This thing's all clean. I'm gonna put it back together and throw it back on the snowblower. Carburetor's back on. I'm gonna throw the tank on and see if it'll start up. I put a little bit of gas in the tank. I let the gas tank dry out all day so all the water would be gone. Cleaned it out with some gas after. I also cleaned out that fuel line, so hopefully it's ready to fire up. Let's see what happens. It has remote start, or not remote start, that'd be really fancy. It has electric start, but you need an extension cord, and I don't feel like getting one right now. I'll try that in the morning, if this works. Well, it fired right up, but that is really loud. I want to put the muffler on and try that again. All right, I put more gas in it. I would put the muffler back on. I didn't want to do it earlier because I want to make sure it ran. So let's try it again. I have the throttle on low this time. I didn't do that before because I'm dumb. All right, I don't think we need to choke. Let's try it again. All right, choke off. All right, I grabbed an extension cord. I want to test it out and see if it'll run tonight. You're kidding me. All right, well, I'm gonna mess with this in the morning. I'll grab an extension cord tomorrow. That carburetor's leaking, so if I can't get it to run right now, I'm gonna get a rebuild kit for it. Either way, I'm getting a rebuild kit for it because it's leaking, but I don't know, I'll try this again in the morning. It's the next morning. I got an extension cord for this thing, so I'm gonna see if the electric start works. Oh, it does work. That doesn't sound great though. I ordered a new carburetor for less than $10, so I'm gonna throw it on here because this one's leaking and it doesn't seem to be giving it any gas. The old carb is off, new carb is on. Let's throw some gas in it and see what happens. All right, new carburetor's on, gas is in the tank, choke is on. I got it plugged in so I can use the electric start. Let's see what happens. All right, so I took this whole kill switch thing off and I have spark back. I'm gonna mess with this after. I'm gonna put everything back on and I'm just gonna see if it's gonna run first. And then if it does, then I'll mess with that. All right, let's try this again. I have spark, just tested it. See what happens. Good. My dad says he might have a key for this, so I might be able to shut it off. Now I'm gonna look and see what's under here because nothing was engaging on it. I tipped the blower up so that now I can get under this panel and lube up this arm here. This arm is stuck and is not engaging, and I'm sure the other one is too because neither of those handles did anything. So I'm gonna take this off, lube it up, see if I can break them free and see what happens. All right, so I took this cover off and I realized right off the bat that this belt was not on. So if I put this back on and spray everything down, I think these things should engage. Before I do that, I'm swapping this tire around because the valve stem is on this side and this side looks a lot better. I got that belt back on. before I take it outside to test it, I'm gonna air up the tires. Tires back on. I also got the diff lock working. Air up the tires.
Made this thing so much easier to move. Look, I barely even have to try, and it rolls perfectly. I'm gonna go see if it'll throw snow and drive. When I tested it out, the auger worked, however the drive did not, and that's because this shaft that's supposed to move up and down when you engage the drive wasn't. So when we got that unstuck, it worked great.
All right, so everything's back together. We got the drive freed up, and we also got this starter sounding a lot better. It's not as loud. We lubricated it, so now it sounds great. Now, before we test it, neither of these tires hold air, and I'm still missing the key. My dad let me borrow the key, and I know that works so that when it's on running, it starts up, and when I kill it, it stops. So I found 6 of these keys online for $5, and these 2 tubes for $6 for both. All right, got the new tubes in. The tires are holding air very well. The blower is level, and I got a new key in. All that's left to do is clean it up, put the covers back on, and test it out. This thing is cleaning up very nicely. This thing cleaned up great. I'm gonna take some pictures and let's test it out. All right, let's see what it'll do. This blower runs great, blows snow great, drives great. It's got forward and reverse. They both work. It's time to put this thing up for sale. Well, that wraps up this video. My total cost on this Craftsman snowblower was $55, including the cost of the blower and that spring. My total cost for the errands was $80, including the 2 tubes, the keys, and the carburetor. I'm gonna list the Craftsman for $125 and hopefully get at least $100. And the errands I'm gonna list for $250 and hopefully get $200. That means I'm $135 in on both of these blowers. So I hope to get at least $300 for both of these, which means my profit will be at least $165. Now that's pretty good. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.